Hey friends, it's Miss Jenny coming to you live from my kitchen classroom, and we're going to be talking about something today. It's kind of a fun word, and if you haven't got to see last week's video, don't worry. We are going to be talking about it a little bit, but I think you can catch up with us. Last week we talked about a term called, that's right, pitch, and it's what tells us how high or low a sound is. And today we're going to talk about something, and I'm going to be referencing pitch, but this kind of is a little bit different, and it is something called timbre. Now, you may be saying, Miss Jenny, that looks like the word timbre. It's actually pronounced timbre. It's Italian. And timbre is the musical term that we use to talk about how sounds are alike or different, things that make them sound the same or things that make them sound different. Also use the term tone color sometimes. It's talking about the quality of the sounds. Not is that a good sound or a bad sound, but kind of like colors. What makes that sound unique? Each instrument, each voice, each object that makes sound makes a unique sound. It's like that sound's fingerprint almost. Each one's a little bit different. And timbre is basically looking at that, looking and using words to tell us what that fingerprint is like, what makes that sound unique. Timbre is also a term we use when we're talking about people using the same pitch, singing or playing, but being able to tell different people or different instruments apart, because you can play the same pitch, but each person has a unique sound, or each instrument makes a unique sound, so that we're able to tell that apart. And a lot of what we learn about music when we learn new instruments or learn about people's voices is we're just learning how to recognize that specific instrument's timbre. It's a big fancy word for something that most of you already do every day without even realizing it. And so we're going to look at 4 different instruments today. And I'm going to be playing the exact same song, so exact same pitch on each instrument. And we're going to look at some different ways that we can find as the timbre changes. Things that we can change about the instrument or about what we're using that will change the timbre or the tone quality or the sound of that. One of the ways you can change that is by changing the material that an instrument is made out of. I'm going to focus on instruments today because it's a little easier to show this on instruments than trying to talk about and show what's going on in your voice. So we're going to see this in action. First instrument we're going to look at is a recorder. This recorder is made out of plastic. Some are made out of other material, but this one's plastic. It's a nice straight tube with holes in it. And I'm going to play a song, and I'm going to play the same song each time. So if you know it, sing along. But I want you to listen and tell me if you can come up with a word to describe not the song I'm playing, but how this instrument sounds. So here we go. Let's see if you know the song. Okay, so that was our song. Now, what's one word you could use to describe or to tell me about what this instrument sounds like? Ready? Oh, I heard some good answers there. We could use words like we do with colors, like warm or cool or bright or kind of covered. You could use even happy or sad. I've heard people use those when we're talking about timbre. But that's one thing we could use. Now, this sounds the way it does because it's made of plastic. Let's look at another instrument that's made out of a different material. Going to use the same notes, but it's going to sound very different. That is the ukulele. And I like the ukulele. This is one of my favorite ones to play. And it's made out of, that's right, wood. And it's also made of, you may say, Miss Jenny, that has plastic on it. The strings on the ukulele, they kind of look plastic. They're actually made out of nylon, like what you would use if you were fishing. You would use fishing line. So I'm going to play that same song, or that same little part of a song, and I'm going to play it on the same notes. But tell me, do these sound the same? Do they sound different? What sounds the same? What sounds different? Be listening and very carefully. I want to hear your answer in a minute. Tell me one thing. Was it the same or the different in the recorder? Okay. It did sound pretty different. Now, why did it sound different? Let's see if you know. Right, I heard some good answers there. It's made out of different material. It's a little different looking. But that wood is really what makes a big difference. Wood sounds very different than that plastic does. But it's not just what the instrument's made out of that can change the sound, because there's another way you can change the timbre. You can also change the size of the instrument or the shape of the instrument. So you can use the same material. You can have it set up exactly the same, but change the size, and it's going to change how it sounds. We talked about that last week because when we had the pitch, remember we could add the water or take away the water to change the sound of the water glass. So you kind of got to see that with the size last week. But we're going to look at a couple of examples today where they are made of the same material and they're made of basically the same shape. But changing that up a little bit changes the timbre in a big way. So we're going to look first in this part at the trumpet. And this is my trumpet, and it is made out of metal. It's made out of, we call it a brass instrument. It's not actually brass. It's a bunch of different metals, but it does look like brass because it's nice and pretty and gold here. But this instrument, we have a mouthpiece here. It kind of looks like a cup. Oh, let me get it where you can see it. And this cup is where we put our mouth against it, and we make a sound like this. And the air goes through this tube, and it's a big long tube, and it winds around, and as it gets near the end, the tube gets bigger and bigger and bigger and makes a big bell, and the sound comes out of this bell. And it plays very differently than the other instruments we've seen. So I want you to listen and see what happens with the different shape and with the different material. Tell me what sounds, if it sounds the same or if it sounds different. And I'm going to play it over here, because your ears might hurt if I played it right in the camera. You don't really want to hear that. So I'll play it over here. Here we go. All right. So what's one word you might use to describe the trumpet? Oh, some good words. It does have a nice bright sound. Now, if I was playing it up here like this, which I won't do, it'd be very bright, maybe too bright for your ears. But it does have a nice sound. It's very warm. Some people even say that has a really happy sound. Now, here's what I can do. We have another instrument. Actually, we have a few in that family. But I can make those tubes bigger and change the shape slightly, and we get an instrument like this. This is still a brass instrument. It just happens to be silver. And this is called the euphonium. Now, some of you may be looking and saying, wait, I know somebody that plays something like that in band, but they call theirs a baritone. Those are a lot alike. There are a couple of little differences. The main ones, I got this extra button here. But the euphonium works kind of the same way. I have a mouthpiece, and it has a tube, and that tube gets a little bit bigger, and it winds around, and you can see it winds around a lot. I got tubes on the front and on the back. And it goes out to make this nice big bell, just like my trumpet did. But listen, is the timbre of this one going to be the same, or is it going to be different? Let's hear. What do you think? Ooh, I heard some good answers there. Very smart musicians out there. So, each one sounded just a little bit different because we changed something on each instrument. Either the shape or the size. Something changed. Now, let's review what we've learned today because you've gotten a lot of info. There's 3 things I want you to remember before we leave today. Number 1. I'll move so you can see this. Timbre is the term that we use to tell us what makes a sound unique, how we can figure out what an instrument or a voice sounds like. 2, different materials make different sounds. So if you make an instrument out of something, you can change its sound by changing what you make it out of. 3. Different sizes and different shapes also make different sounds. So you can use the same material, change the shape, you can have a brand new sound. Now, it's your turn to practice. If you really want to get brave, you can make your own instrument. But I'll keep it simple for today because I know a lot of you can't go to the store and just get what you need right now. So, let's look here. There we go. I want you to find 5 things in your house that make sound. And I'll give you a hint. One of them can be you because your voice makes sound. But I want you to find 5 things that make sound. It could be a toy. It could be stuff in your kitchen. It could be some of the glasses like you used last week. It could be anything that you can find that makes sound. And I want you to listen to each sound that those things make. I want you to find 2 sounds in your house that are alike. And I want you to think about what makes these sounds alike. Are they made of the same material? Are they the same size? Are they the same shape? Could it be more than one of those answers? I also want you to find 2 things and make sure that they make 2 very different sounds. And what is it that makes them different? Is it their size, their shape? Could it be a lot of those things? I'll give you an example of something easy you could do. In my kitchen, I found this jar. Now I can use this jar and a pencil, and I can make 2 different sounds with this one jar. Because I can play the lid, or I can play the jar. Now, did my jar lid and my jar sound the same or different? That's right, they sounded different. Why? Well, you're right. They are different shapes. They are different sizes, and they're made out of different materials. So right there, I have a same. I could have a different, but I could also say I could find another jar and have a same. So there's lots of possibilities. What I want you all to do, find them, share what you find with me on Google Classroom if you've got that, or on Facebook if you're watching this on our school's Facebook page, or you can even email Miss Jenny. And I would love to see what you come up with. I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy. I miss you, and I can't wait to see you again soon. Have a great day.